Yeah, y'all gonna stop coming in my live talking about this Victor dude, bro. We hooping this year. Y'all gonna see.
Alright team, today we have some really good news. As you can see, we finally got the green screen set up. I was having some trouble with it, so if you see like my glasses glitch out, or I'm just gonna leave them out. Let's just go ahead and jump straight into this news. Shams put out a tweet right here. During free agency, I believe it started yesterday, or it might have been 2 days ago. I'm not too sure. But free agent Luke Kornet has agreed to a 4-year, $41 million deal with the San Antonio Spurs. Key front court addition for the Spurs, who negotiated a contract tonight with Kornet's agent Max Weepking of Gersh Sports. Now forgive me if I said his last name wrong, but I was very excited to see this news. As we all know, we needed a big man. That was one of the biggest holes in this Spurs team, and we filled that need. Now don't get me wrong, we could use another solid big man, just one more big man for the depth, because there are going to be injuries throughout the season. God forbid something happens to Luke Kornet or Victor Wembanyama. But through the taxing NBA season, I do think you need a solid backup third stringer, and maybe Bismack Biyombo is that. I think Bismack was pretty solid to be a third string center last year, but if you could get Larry Nance, then I wouldn't be mad at that either. But I was very excited about this pickup because Luke Kornet is not a guy who's going to jump off the stat sheet. I mean, he averaged 6 and 5 last season, but if you just like watch the Boston Celtics play, he wasn't just a scrub on a stacked team. He actually contributed to the team, and he did that in a very special way, just being a dominant force. Now he wasn't Shaq or anything, but he was a big body who could get down there and get rebounds. He could finish around the rim. And looking at the defensive stats, I think Luke Kornet was one of the better rim protectors in the NBA. Now that could be a product of him just being on that stacked defensive team. As you know, they had Derek White, Drew Holiday, Tatum can defend, and so just flustering teams, funneling them to the paint, it would be easy for Luke Kornet just to stand there and get some blocks or really impact shots, because he's not a high block guy like Victor Wembanyama. He's not going to get you 4 blocks a game, but around the rim, like Victor Wembanyama, he impacts players' shots and he makes them shoot worse around the rim. So that's going to be huge for the Spurs. As we all know, whenever Victor Wembanyama went out, we didn't have anyone to protect the rim. We didn't have anyone to grab rebounds. And so when Victor Wembanyama is now on the bench, he's going to have someone to go do that dirty work and play defense, grab rebounds to help sustain that lead. He even used to have a jump shot. He hasn't really shot at all this past season. I don't think he shot 1 3. Yeah, he didn't shoot one, but coming into the league, he could actually shoot the ball. And that was one of the things he was known for coming out of college, being a two-way stretch kind of guy. And even if that shot doesn't come back, which I would like to see it come back, but if it doesn't, then we still have a lot of good things that Luke Kornet can do for this team. The biggest 2 things, like all I really want him to do is grab rebounds and defend the rim. That's something we were asking from Zach Collins and we didn't get that. But just to give us a solid 18 minutes like he did with the Boston Celtics, that would be great for us. And we have a lot of good defenders on this team. Now, I'm not saying we're the Boston Celtics and we're going to win X amount of games like them, but we do have good defenders like Sohan. Stephon Castle's a really good defender. Julian Champagnie's a solid team defender, but then you add a player like Carter Bryant, who I think he's going to be a really good plus defender. You even have Blake Wesley, so there are some really good defenders on this team, and I think that's going to be something that the Spurs hang their hats on this upcoming season, the defensive end. So adding a guy who could defend rim, I think is pretty great for the Spurs. Also, on top of the fact that he's going to be one of the better big men off the bench, which I'll say for us getting him for about 10 mil, I think that's a really good deal. I mean, centers are very expensive nowadays. I saw some people saying overpay, and I think the fact that you just saw like $41 million, but you have to think that's divided up into 4 years, so he's getting paid 10 mil a year, and for a solid, one of the better backup big men in the game, I think that's a really good deal. You got your long-term backup big man next to Wemby, and he's not just a backup. You can also play him whenever Wemby sits out a game, because he's going to miss a couple of games. He could slide into that starter role. He's not going to be a Victor Wembanyama, but he's serviceable at that role. And you can also play him next to Victor Wembanyama. We saw Luke Kornet play next to Kristaps Porzingis, and I'm not going to act like I watched a whole bunch of Celtics games because I didn't, but I know that pairing was pretty good whenever Kristaps did play. And so if you substitute Kristaps with Victor Wembanyama, who is even more perimeter dynamic, I mean, you could do a Luke Kornet and Wemby pick and roll with him as your ball handler handler. And so, man, that's going to be an amazing lineup. And even though I don't think you play that lineup 48 minutes a game, like that's going to be something you can do to mix it up, or whenever you go against double big lineups. That's just another luxury that we didn't have last season because we didn't have the big man depth. And I said we do need to get another big man for the third string, which I think they will, but we're just having a lot more options this season compared to last. This season for the Spurs is going to be great. Looking at the Spurs offseason as a whole, we now got De'Aaron Fox, Castle, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Victor Wembanyama. And one thing I like about this, you don't have someone who you can just attack on the defensive end. With this lineup, you have a whole bunch of people who can play defense. I mean, I think your worst defender out of this group is, not including Malachi Branham, because I don't think he's going to get a lot of PT, but I think your worst defender is probably Keldon Johnson. But the fact that he's surrounded with a bunch of guys that can play defense, even though De'Aaron Fox isn't a point of attack defender, he forces a lot of turnovers, getting in those passing lanes, using his speed. So I think he's a solid defender, average defender. Depending on his matchup, he could be a plus defender. Like when we saw him go against Trae Young against the Hawks, I think he did a really good job. We all know Steph Castle's a plus defender. Devin Vassell, solid team defender. Harrison Barnes, solid team defender as well. But you have the best defensive anchor in the league, so it kind of negates all the average defense. It makes it even better because you just have this freak of nature at the rim. But you also have Blake Wesley, Julian Champagnie, Carter Bryant, Jeremy Sohan, and Luke Kornet, who's a good rim defender. There's just a lot of defense for the Spurs. So I think they have 2 more roster spots. I would probably want to give it one to Riley Minix and then sign a backup big man with that last spot. And I think you're done with the offseason. You could go in with this team and see what happens. And I think we're going to be a pretty good team. You have this non-tax mid-level exception for 9.1 mil. You can go get you Larry Nance with that. You can do a lot of things with 9.1 mil. And so if you can go get a third string center, I think we're all set. But let me know what y'all guys think. Leave it down below in the comments section. Are you a fan of this pickup? I know I am. But with that being said, I'm going to keep the content coming out. We got some more bangers on the way. Y'all be sure to leave a like, comment down below. But until next time, it has been your boy Chris, and I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.